Uh, Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Augment Expert Series. Augment Ventures is an early stage investor in mission driven, diverse founders that are transforming foundational industries, leveraging AI infrastructure and applications to make these old legacy industries more efficient and sustainable. Today, we have invited one of our advisors, Nikhil Soares, to share with us his journey and his work with Augment. We are so delighted to have Nikhil as part of the Augment universe. Gosh, I've known Nikhil for many moons, and it's been an absolute pleasure, Nikhil, to see your journey from Deloitte and now to Simple Tires. So welcome, and please share with us your background and many interesting and beautiful pit stops you made in this journey. Welcome, Nikhil.
Thank you for having me, Sonali, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all and to support Augment Ventures on its journey as well. I think we've known each other for well over 10 years now, and so I've known both you, Sonali, and Augment very much from its inception, and I think it's been fantastic to be part of this journey with you guys. Yeah, as it relates to me, obviously you could look it up on my LinkedIn profile, but I'd be happy to share a few nuggets of information about my career, my journey, and how I've kind of made it to this point here. Maybe just starting from my early days, born and raised in India, went to finished my education in India, both engineering and business school. And I was hired from my business school for a job in the United States. So that's been my transition. I'm proud to say I'm American now. I've lived more of my life in the US than I did in India, which is kind of surreal ways, but also highlights, how anyone can make a career and grow themselves both personally and more broadly, just in terms of experiences, as global citizens. So it almost doesn't matter where you might have been born or where you might have been raised. I think those opportunities are there for the taking for everybody. As I mentioned, I was hired from business school by my first employer in the United States. It was in the consulting industry. I was with Deloitte, and they hired me for the technology practice of Deloitte Consulting. And it just happened that over time, my time with Deloitte evolved from technology to ultimately being, in their strategy and operations practice. Within that, supply chain, and from a supply chain standpoint, it was many different industries, primarily consumer goods, but also in retail and in healthcare and life sciences. So worked in many different types of projects and opportunities there with Deloitte. As in most cases of consulting, it wasn't, pigeonholed into one area or the other. I've had the good fortune of being involved in many different varieties of projects, all the way from due diligence of a merger and acquisition situation to helping define, network strategy,
Mhm.
where the next distribution center should be, and that may be where you and I got to know each other in that domain, Sonali, through our investments with Lamasoft, early days of Augment. And then also in things like, planning systems and tools and all things sales and operations planning to more broader based supply chain strategies. That's how I evolved my career in Deloitte. Then came the big question, should I be a career consultant? Do I go through the partner model and, being part of the ownership structure of Deloitte? When, as I stepped back, I realized that I got a lot of satisfaction from being directly engaged in decisions, taking ownership and accountability for my words, so to speak, and putting them into action. And so simply, staying as an advisor, being able to work with the C-suite as part of my role with Deloitte Consulting wasn't as fulfilling to me. And I just thought that the right next step for me in my career would be to uh, give it a try in industry and try to, make my mark as an executive in the industry, owning my decisions, being able to drive both the top line and the bottom line across,
Outcomes. Yes.
P&Ls, and really gaining strength from making decisions that impact profitable growth of businesses that I can be directly involved in. And so that's what took me to the next step of my journey with Nike. I think it was a natural transition from Deloitte to being the leader of all things supply chain strategy and analytics with Nike. And from there, I took on a role in Nike to be the GM of Nike's replenishment business for North America. So that was a great opportunity for someone who'd been in supply chain to really own the commercial engagement with a variety of different customers, including, Foot Locker and Dick's
Wow.
and Macy's and such, being able to support what was a pseudo P&L for Nike's broader P&L structure at that point. Think all things tees, shorts, socks, and so on. That was the portion of the business that works on a replenishment model with Nike, and I oversaw that for a little while. Now, all along, while this was happening, the world was going online. More
Yeah.
consumers were transitioning to buying all kinds of products, and I'm talking refrigerators and large appliances, along with grocery, etc. And so I thought that a great way to evolve my career at that point would be to transition to learning more about in e-commerce supply chain, and that's what took me to Walmart and Walmart e-commerce. So, a few years there with Walmart, great amount of learning in working with the executive leadership team of Walmart. The people who had previously scaled businesses like Quidzy and diapers.com, sold that to Amazon. They started jet.com and then were successful in selling that business to Walmart. Those leaders taught me a lot in my role at Walmart, which was overseeing the supply chains of the home and the grocery businesses at Walmart.
Wow.
Phenomenal learning, kind of doing battle there with Amazon as the pure play e-commerce player, but then also, in my time at Walmart, I'm proud to say we were successful in gaining significant traction in the marketplace and growing share of the e-commerce business with Walmart. And at that point, opportunities arose for me to make an interesting shift in my career from large, mature businesses to opportunities in taking leadership positions with scaling organizations, entrepreneurial ventures, backed by, private equity players and venture capital type of funds like yourselves with Augment. And so I think that was the point where I decided, it would be great to have the freedom and the independence of operating as the senior leader, steering very fast growing organizations to their next calling. And so that's how I've made my way over to Simple Tire now. We are a very unique model. In some ways, you can liken it to being the Grubhub or the Uber of the tire industry, a virtual aggregation model that connects demand with supply. And I oversee the operations and the supply chain for Simple Tire as part of a broader portfolio of companies that is eventually backed by Bain Capital, and our parent company happens to be Dealer Tire, which delivers and supports tires to dealerships, automotive dealerships across the entire U.S. marketplace as well, in some places overseas. So that's my journey. It's been a rocking, I'd say, 25 plus years now in the United States, and it's been a great ride overall.
Yeah, I think one thing that I appreciate so much from you, Nikhil, and it is evident in every interaction with us, is the learning mindset and your curiosity. I think that makes us great partners with us as we explore new ideas and new opportunities. And, our journey started with Lamasoft, where you were on the board and I was on the board, and the collaboration and the guidance that Nike provided in actually establishing and then scaling the company was phenomenal. And that's where your hands-on experience, right, your insights really enabled Lamasoft to tackle bigger projects and more opportunities. And of course, now Don is doing the next OptiLogic platform, which cloud native supply chain and design platform that is building. And again, you were instrumental in helping us diligence that and see why the new platform at OptiLogic will be viable. So I think what we have appreciated, and we were able to craft this advisory position with you, having worked with you on a board for so many years, because of your diverse experience, right? I mean, the kind of stuff that you did at Deloitte, the kind of experiences that you had at Nike, global massive supply chain, and the kind of work that you did at Walmart was fascinating. And quite honestly, when you did move to Simple Tires, I was like, okay, what is this? But having spent some time with you, understanding the complexities and the changes and the use of technology in actually delivering tires is amazing, right? I mean, I never knew that before you joined Simple Tires. So I think from our perspective, from Augment's perspective, I think we feel fortunate to have you in our universe, where these fledgling and new ideas that founders are creating, we can bring to them an expert like you who has seen this fast pacing, very well established, strong organizations, and what success means like. So I think your guidance and insights have been very valuable. So this brings me to my next question, which is a little bit related to Augment. And maybe this is something that you also think about it, like when you see younger professionals, right? I mean, uh, of course, whenever there's anything related to supply chain logistics, my first call is to you. Hey, Nikhil, do you think we should be spending time on it? And if this is something not in your wheelhouse, you are always able to connect us to someone else in your ecosystem, right? But actually, twofold question. One is, like, what part of working with Augment that excites you? That's number one. And number two is that what advice would you have for companies who are trying to, between the last 10, 15 years that we've known each other, the landscape of supply chain logistics and the use of technology, the ability to get traceability, transparency, and accountability has changed massively. I mean, every aspect of it is. So, what would your advice be to young entrepreneurs, young professionals who are trying to craft either their career or start a company in this sector?
Yeah, I'll take the question in the two parts, right? The first one is, my role with Augment and why I've always felt that kinship, so to speak, with Augment. I think it's just a unique opportunity having engaged with you and known you all these years, Sonali, and then the opportunities that comes by your desk on a daily basis. I think it keeps my thinking fresh in some ways, which is awesome. Because it's phenomenal to work with entrepreneurs who are constantly thinking very differently, right? Like there's a lateral thinking mindset across the entire community where there is sort of non-acceptance of the status quo. People who are pushing the
Absolutely.
all the time, who are thinking very differently, who want to change the world in so many different ways. And to me, I find that extremely refreshing, and I think it keeps me fresh. Despite my years, I think it's great to see that come through, and then having an opportunity to weigh in one way or the other to support these phenomenal leaders in their own right, and maybe thinking a little bit differently, maybe asking a question or two that sparks a thought that they may have not had previously, and in thinking about how they want to evolve their business in a different manner. And it brings tremendous satisfaction to me to be able to be part of that journey in some ways, and to see how they would evolve and scale their businesses, and to have a role in supporting that. I think the mission of Augment is something that is connected or resonated with me in tremendous ways as well. To be able to see it in the same way, and to be able to support these companies in the same manner, and the fact that I can weigh in, at least from a supply chain operational standpoint, with the wealth of different experiences that I've had, and I think I've seen it from so many different perspectives, having worked across all of these different industries, to bring those aspects to bear and be able to shape the thinking for these entrepreneurs in some respects is what draws me to my role at Augment, and continues to sustain and grow that engagement with
Oh,
with
we can't thank you enough, Nikhil. And this is across from all our founders. After every conversation, they are so pleased, and I think everybody wants you to be on their board. So that's another problem we have, but we shall work on it. But tell us a little bit about, just from when people are thinking about setting up, being a professional in supply chain logistic, or setting up their operations. People don't understand, probably, having spent, I mean, we both were in supply chain logistics before, if it was cool. They don't understand the enormity and complexity of supply chain logistic, and how important for it is for its resilience.
Yeah, and I love supply chain for that, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah.
it is one of those most complex functions out there, and I love that it's gotten to be cool recently. I think COVID aids that as well, post-COVID, of course.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe two pieces of advice is one, at least from an individual and career growth standpoint. I would say, I think as somebody who wants to learn supply chain and grow their career within supply chain, please know that it's a marathon. So it doesn't matter how you begin or where you begin, right? Like from a supply chain standpoint, maybe you have an opportunity to work in a distribution center, and so your starting point could be in distribution and logistics. For others, it may be in negotiating new contracts, or maybe it's like sourcing, right? Like, and for some others, it could be in working with demand forecasting models. Maybe there's a data and analytics component to it. And now, of course, AI and machine learning is all the rage, and so that may be your starting point. It doesn't matter where you start, because there are so many different domains and so many different dimensions to supply chain that I think that learning never ends. And so I think it's really important not to focus so much on where you begin, but really have a very clear perspective to where you want to go in the long run and what that end goal is. Right. Many a time I've seen that, when you have somebody who's just graduated from school, who's starting out in their career, they believe that the way to go about it is to quickly get to that next step, land the promotions,
Mm.
be the youngest to have done something. There was always pride to being the youngest, I think I might have erred in that aspect too in the early parts of my career. My advice is focus less on moving up the ladder, and there's a lot of value to moving sideways. And
Mhm.
then, laterally, because there's value to be gained from learning new things, being exposed to a variety of different industries, learning different domains. You start out in logistics and distribution. You learn how to do planning and demand forecasting. You move to sourcing. You start engaging with the customer and the consumer. You learn some e-commerce. So I think that learning never ends, and I think there is fun in going off course and living the journey, meandering off, because as you do that over time, you will realize that you've mastered a variety of different domains. That's
Yeah.
how I ended up in some ways where I am. It allows you at that point to truly be seen as an expert who understands that supply chain end to end, who can
Yeah.
work in a variety of different industries. So that to me is my biggest advice to folks starting out on this journey, is to recognize that it's a marathon, and that it's okay at various points in your career to go sideways, as opposed to just seeking to be promoted and going up the ladder. Have the courage to do the not so sexy things, right? And I think, and I see that in the various entrepreneurs who bring their ideas to Augment as
Yeah.
well. They're not afraid to take the risks. They're not afraid to step out of that, sort of box, so to speak, to think differently. And so I think that works really well. I think supply chain is a great place to make a career as well, because I think it's the manifestation of my favorite book actually is The Theory of Chaos, the Chaos Theory, and you can read about it.
Mm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
the butterfly effect and all of that. I think supply chain is a wonderful manifestation of that, right? Like, you can
Mhm.
have best laid plans, you can believe that things work in a certain manner. And in supply chain, it would be phenomenal if those things hold true on a daily basis. There are a lot of things that happen in supply chain that are not to plan and go against those best laid plans. And I think the ones who are most successful as a practitioner in supply chain are those who can, in some ways, anticipate all of these different scenarios, be able to prepare for it, and be able to react and respond in a different way, who are able to take those steps in a way that you had not anticipated that you would at the beginning. But in some ways, you had that all kind of mapped out in your head. There's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And what happened? Plan F had to be activated, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think those are the ones who are most successful from a supply chain standpoint. The ability to be able to play out these situational models in your own mind, and not just in the individual's mind, the one who is able to then help define it and design it across the entire team, across the entire organization, be able to work with their cross-functional counterparts in finance and sales and other parts of the organization, to be able to shape what those strategies should look like, and go like, hey, look, we
We did it.
anticipated that this situation would happen, but now we've had to react to an entirely different situation, right? You're going to see that come to the fore more and more, because obviously, as you look around the world right now, the geopolitical forces and the ways in which things might evolve here over the next few years may be very different from what was put in place just literally 4 or 5 years ago. And so the ones who would be most successful are the ones who can quickly react and adjust, be able to move things like even their manufacturing bases and such, to be able to support what's going on here. So it might be those strategic kind of things, to the mundane things like, hey, who should be making our deliveries on an everyday basis? And is that FedEx? Is that Uber? Is that, someone else that doesn't exist at this point? And be able to take advantage of all of these, wonderful new innovations that keep coming up on a daily basis, make that happen.
Yeah, Nikhil, this is so fascinating. And that's why, when you and I chat, oftentimes just catch up calls or, you join us for our events at Augment or for our annual meeting or you talk to our founders, our conversations are so interesting. I just think that even from an Augment perspective, the envelope of supply chain logistic is so massive, whether it be on data side, whether it be on the physical side, whether it be on security side, payment side, risk assessment side. So there are so many angles and it touches all the industries and it touches the world, the global world. And it really impacts how we live, work, and play, quite honestly, right? I mean, how does a family feel or a child feel when this Christmas present doesn't arrive on time? Or how do you feel maybe as a car owner and you can't find the tire at the right price at the right time, whether it be snow tires or anything of that sort, right? I mean, so not only at a personal level, but how we move, how we live in the world, supply chain touches everything. And I think with the advent and adoption and realization of the power and impact of I think, exactly what you said, the scenario planning, right? I mean, that's exactly what Lofty Logic is. And why are we excited about it? Because it enables you to assess those risks and plan out. I think, again, Conversite was another company that, you were very helpful for. How do you leverage conversational AI in making sure that people have access to information and they can retrieve and do the analytics that is needed, and even Secro, which is digitizing electronic bill of lading for maritime trade. Okay, this is global trade, trillions of dollars, but we are still reliant on paper. And how do you improve traceability and how do you increase trade finance and so many things? So, Nikhil, I mean, this conversation can go on for many, many hours between you and me. And I hope we meet in person soon to, exchange notes and keep tinkering on various new ideas. But I'm really grateful and appreciative of your time with us. And I hope our journey continues and more power to Simple Tire as well. So thank you for your time today.
No, thank you for having me, Sonali. I think you summed it up really well in that, what makes supply chain different and why it is such a big passion of mine. And I hope that, everyone out there, young minds begin to think in these lines that I think of all of the domains that you can build a career on, as you said, supply chain is the one that you may not know that you're experiencing on a daily basis, right? Like you live it, you feel it, you can touch it, you can experience it. That is supply chain,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and so that is why it's near and dear to my heart. It's been a passion, and it's a very relatable, in some ways, a very relatable career aspiration and a career model that I'm hoping every young person out there kind of gravitates to and grows their career around. So if I've helped kind of inch that forward a little bit through this dialogue that we've had, I would call that a success. So thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you guys the very best in 2025, and I'm sure we'll be catching up very soon. So
Absolutely.
thank you,
Thank you,
Sonali.
Nikhil. Thank you.